All right, cool.
connecting. How about you on
Uh,
Instagram?
Hi, everybody. Michelle here. I'm doing my monthly live. I just wanted to connect with everybody. We had a very big workshop last Saturday, and if you didn't get to join us, you missed out on something special because I coached all day, coached my face off from 9 a.m. till a little after 3:30. I went slightly over, but it was an amazing day. We went over a lot of different topics related to autism. We went through potty training, which is like my specialty. It's my jam. It's pretty much what everybody comes to me with primarily is potty training. Then the next best thing they come to me for is communication skills. They want to develop communication skills for their child. And then the third thing that everyone comes to me for is reducing aggressive or problem behavior. So it could be like tantruming, meltdowns, all that good stuff. So today I wanted to present just a quick snapshot of a piece of that day, which was going over a new guide that I've created, and it is free, and we don't have it in my link tree yet, but we will get it there. But if you're interested in getting this guide, it's called the Autism Moms um, survival guide to any problem behavior. I have to say, I write a lot of guides, and this one's like my best guide yet. So we're going to be giving this one away for free. All you have to do is just comment guide in the comments. We're going to send you a DM to get your email address, and we're going to pop you over this guide. I just finished it, I think Friday in time for last Saturday. And it's a guide that I love, and I'm going to kind of go over some of the concepts in it so that it can kind of empower parents that if they're struggling with any problem behaviors, you pull out this guide, you get Zen, and then we can figure it out. And that's what I love. So if anyone is interested in getting this guide, I'm giving it away for free. You just comment guide on Instagram, guide on Facebook. I'm looking at both cameras here, and we'll get you a free copy of this guide out. We'll send a message to you, a DM to get your email address, and we'll get you this guide. Okay, so how does this guide work? So there's two parts to this guide. There's I call it, it's like a two-pronged approach. So it's step one is to actually look at how we're going to handle this behavior, and step two is the actual behavior itself. And what we end up doing as parents of children with autism is that when they have a problem behavior, and that could be a tantrum, that could be a meltdown, and I'll tell you the difference between those two in a minute. It could be aggression to themselves or to others. It could be running away. When a child exhibits an unwanted behavior, I guess that's also another good way to describe it, fecal smearing, hitting somebody else, whatever the case may be, however it presents, we want to, as parents, our knee-jerk reaction is to address the problem behavior first, but that's really treating the symptom and not treating the situation at the root level. So if all we do is keep putting fires out every time the child acts this way, has tantrum, has a meltdown, has a situation where they're exhibiting behaviors we don't want, and if all we're doing is just looking at that behavior and putting that fire out, we never learn the root cause as to why it's happening to begin with. Once we can get to the root, then we can figure out the solve. And that's kind of what I wanted to go over today. Good morning, Latanya. Okay, so that's really what I wanted to go over today. It was so impactful. This guide, I've wrote about like 6 or 7 guides. This one's my best guide to date because I feel like the problem behavior unaddressed can be super stressful for a family, super stressful for their child. One of the things that I looked up when I was creating it is said that parents of children with autism have post-traumatic stress disorder similar to a combat soldier, and we don't want that. And over 68% of children on the spectrum exhibit some type of problem behavior. So if we can just start to look at the root instead of just putting out fires when the actual behavior happens, then we can really create the solve here. So it's a two-pronged process. The first part of this process is to really neutralize your feelings about this behavior. And you say, Michelle, how can I do that? These kids are freaking out, they're crying, they're hitting. How am I going to be neutral about that? Well, in the moment, you're not going to be able to. I get that. In the moment, we want to bring them to safety, bring you to safety. So we just kind of have to put that fire out as it's happening. But the long-term goal here is to avoid those bombs from erupting. I call it the bomb squad mom method. We want to kind of avoid those eruptions from happening to begin with. When they happen, we have to address it. And it is, things are going to happen. You're going to have, you're going to be working through this guide, potentially going to be working through trying to establish what the root cause of these behaviors. So until you're figuring this out and you're testing things to help resolve it, you may hit some road, you may hit some bumps in the road where you're going to have to deal with problem behavior. That's fine. What you need to do is neutralize what it means. What I've seen a lot of parents of children with autism do is that my kid is scratching me and I'm crying and this is my life and nothing's going to change and why did this happen to us? And this isn't what I signed up with. Another big concept we went over on Saturday was called the expectation gap. And it's this expectation of what we all thought we were going to have when we were pregnant or when the babies were first with us. All of the expectations of what that childhood experience, raising that child, was going to be like. And then when autism comes, it's like all that goes right out the window. Then we're in it's not fair, it's not right. We're angry. I was angry at God. I was there 100%. The problem with that is that if we don't resolve and just be comfortable with where we are, just accept that even though this isn't fair, this isn't right, or even if it happened to you, whatever the case may be, that it just is, I can't create anything until I can get to acceptance. And that goes for this type of behavior too. Like when you have these heightened states of tantruming or them getting physical or them running away or playing with shit, like playing with fecal smearing or whatever, you can have that heightened state of brings you back into your grief of like your expectation gap is what we were calling it, as to what you thought you should have gotten. And here I am and had this happen and this is my life and I don't want to live this way. And I get that. I get all of that. But it is not a helpful place to stay if you want to see progress for yourself or your family or your baby. So the idea here is that when these situations happen and as you're working through the guide and trying to get the root cause of why problem behavior is happening, you are going to deal with some eruptions. It's what do we make those eruptions mean? I actually like to look at them and say, you know what, this is like the truest, rawest form of communication, and my baby's trying to tell me something. I need to figure it out. And I choose to believe that this behavior is not a problem, because if I look at it any other way, I won't be able to fix it. So the first thing you have to do before we get into the tactical, which we're going to talk about next, is really just coming to terms that this is what I got. And once we get to true acceptance from an expectation gap of like, this is what I thought I was going to have, this is what I got, then we can actually work on what could be possible from this space. What can I create from the space I'm in now? Once we've actually come to terms with that place, that's when real creation can happen. I always call that like the unmentioned step of pulling yourself out of grief, or the expectation gap of what you thought your life was going to be like. It is a true grieving process because you're like thinking about the neurotypical childhood you thought you were going to experience, and it's gone now. It's almost like a death. So we really kind of have to kind of come to terms that this is where we're at. I can't let this behavior derail me, make me depressed, freak out and crying for days and stuff like that. I can't solve from there. I have to kind of neutralize how I feel about it. Even I'm not saying feel great about it. I'm saying not see it as such a problem, but I actually see it as, I never liked the puzzle piece. I always say this, I don't really like the puzzle piece of autism because I feel like it's something that represents autism because I feel like something's missing. I don't like that. What I actually like is looking at it as a puzzle to be solved. And maybe it's the same thing, but in the way I see it in my brain, this helped me support looking at that. I want to look at her as like my daughter, and you looking at your children as like, she's just trying to tell me something in behavior. If I could figure out the root of what she's trying to tell me, then I can help her through these behaviors. So let me give you some examples. I want you guys, if you're here, if you're interested in getting this guide, it's free. I just created, it's my favorite guide of all of them because it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's just going to help get you out of the shit fastest. Just comment guide and we'll get you a guide in the comments, and either on Facebook or Instagram, you comment guide, I'll send you a free guide. We'll send you a DM to get your email address, and we'll send you the guide. So the guide is called the Autism Moms Survival Guide to Any Problem Behavior. So the first step in solving behaviors with children on the spectrum is to neutralize the behavior. You're not gonna immediately go to all of the shitty thoughts that your brain wants you to when your kid's playing with poop. You're not going to be like freaking out and thinking your life's over if your child runs away or is a little loper. Like of course we don't want them to run away, but if they run away and you catch them, and it's all of that after shit I'm talking about. That after crap, you have to do what you got to do in the moment. I get it. But once the situation has been kind of somewhat resolved, it's that aftermath of shitty thinking and shitty self-talk that stops us from figuring out the solve to this in future. So first you want to take care of that scenario, and then we can look at the tactical, which is instead of just addressing the behavior in the moment, right? The fight or flight response, the emergency attention that's needed once the behavior has happened. Once that's resolved, I want you to kind of come to a place of neutrality, get yourself calm, whatever self-care. We give you some examples of what you can be doing in the guide itself. But basically what you want to do here is just kind of get yourself neutral and say, okay, what was my baby trying to tell me? I consider any problem behavior, aggression, elopement, fecal smearing, anything, our baby's truest form, rawest form of communication, because it's in behavior. So why are they doing it? We figure out the solve as to why it's happening, and then we can figure out how to prevent it. So here on this list, and I know my handwriting is horrendous, and I'm trying to make it so that everyone can see it. It's called the MEETS. It's an acronym for the 5 reasons why a child, any child, not even just a child on the spectrum, if you have a child that's having any type of behavior, it's the function of that behavior, which is what we want to figure out to create the solve so we can avoid this behavior from happening in the future, will fall in any of these 5. Nothing does not solve any of these 5. So a mom I had spoken to on Saturday said that her son was freaking out because he wanted to go outside and scratching himself, and he really got himself worked up. And she said he can't go outside because it was late or it was raining or whatever the case may be. And he was getting really upset. And she was getting upset, even repeating it back to me. This is where the practice, this is where the mindset stuff comes in. It's so important with our program, is that I want to get you out of that fight or flight. Even as she's reciting what happened, she's living in that moment of him starting to scratch himself. And when she'd come near him, he'd scratch her. And she's just in that space. That is the most unhelpful place for you to stay. You need to work. You work consciously to step out of that. So I kept telling her, I'm like, I know what happened. Tell me what happened before. She's like, he wanted to go out. And I told him he can't go out, right? It's raining or whatever the case may be. And I said, okay, great. And this is the way that I do it. I'm like, look at the list. Tell me what was the reason, what was the function of that behavior? So the way we figure out function of behavior is want to know what happens before. That's the antecedent. They call it the ABCs and ABA. So it's A is the antecedent, what happened before the behavior. The B is for behavior, what does the actual behavior look like? And C is the consequence, what happens after the behavior. So she says to me, I say to her, tell me, look at this list and tell me why he was doing this. She said he was trying to escape. And it's interesting, right? Because when we're in that fight or flight, we would think that maybe if he wants to go outside, he's trying to escape. But really, what he was trying to do is get access to a tangible. Now, I know going outside isn't tangible, it's an experience, but that's what we mean by when we say tangible. They want access to either an object or an activity. They want access to an object or an activity, and that's why this behavior is happening. So once she realized that, right, because her mind is in the fight or flight, she's crying as she's telling me this. She's so upset he did it. She's thinking escape, right, because it kind of goes with the emotion she's feeling and all of that. Instantly, she felt better because it was like, oh, of course, yeah, he wanted to go outside. Sometimes the real obvious answer to why the function of a behavior is happening is just kind of under our nose. But if we're stuck in that mental mud, right, of dealing with that and not processing the emotion that went with that traumatic event, we can't really see the real function of what happened. And once I showed her this, then we could figure out the solve. So I said to her, in this particular example, I think it was raining out. So what we try to do here is say, listen, he wants access to outside. Why does he want access? Because it's fun. He gets to do stuff out there, right? So if we know it's raining out and he wants to go out, if he's not realizing that it's raining and he's going to get wet, he's going to get messy, and that doesn't seem to be the scenario, why does he want to go out? What's out there? Oh, there's toys out there. There's fun things. Well, what if we could present him as we see that he wants to go out and he can't, with alternative activities? This is called a FERBS. This is a functional equivalent replacement. So basically, we're going to look and but by the way, I'm not formally trained. This is just mom taking lots of face first hits in like 8 years of being in the autism club. But anyway, so basically we're going to find something that's equivalent in value that we can present at that time before the eruption gets out of control. Now, sometimes by the time you may figure this out, right, or the next time this happens, she's going to have this in her tool belt. In the moment, sometimes when she might have thought, let's say she had this guide and she thought it was escape and started treating it as escape, right? Which has a different, we have a different set of like things we would do. And he gets even more upset, more upset, and more upset. That's okay. The idea here is we don't like make this mean anything other than communication. And this is the truest form of communication. This particular child is pre-verbal. We're working on getting him a bridge form of communication. 9 times out of 10, a lot of these behaviors will happen because of their inability to communicate. So I just want to show you how this guide, you pull it out, you put it, it's an e-guide that it's free, everybody. Anyone who's just joining now, if you want this guide, it's called the Autism Moms Survival Guide to Any Problem Behavior. I'm giving it away for free. It's my favorite guide out of all the ones I've done. I've done like 6, 7, 8 guides. This one's my favorite. I'm giving this one away for free. Just comment guide in the comments of Facebook or Instagram, and we'll get you that guide. But the point here is that first thing we have to do is just get comfortable with the fact that if behaviors happen, they're happening for a reason. And if I think of it from that aspect, instead of thinking that the child's bad, my life is misery, they're doing this just to spite me, whatever the case may be, it's such a more helpful place. And it's really a place I can work from. I can look at all of these options, figure out every behavior that a child's doing that is a problem behavior unwanted can fit into one of these. And then once we figure out which one it is, then we can figure out the solve. But we can't figure out the solve if I think that tantrums are a nightmare, my life is over, their life's over. If I'm still in that expectation gap, if I'm still in that mental mud, if I'm still in fight or fright from the last time they had a tantrum, then I can't figure out the solve. I'm going to give you another example before. If anyone has any questions, let me know. If you want this guide, it's free. Just comment guide and we'll get it to you. I'm going to give you another example that I went through personally. And that was when Juliana was potty training. And at that time we got pee down, but poop was still not happening on the potty. And I couldn't figure it out. And for 3 weeks in a row, there's a place called Safety Swim where we live, where they teach you how to swim. And you basically get her in her bathing suit, and it's year round. So it's an indoor place. You get her in her bathing suit, you give her the instructor goes in the pool and starts, teaching her how to swim. And then, what we ended up doing was for the 1 week, while we're in the middle of potty training, she shit in the pool. And when she's shit in the pool, everyone's got to get out. She's got to be changed. Anyone who's coming for the next session has to be called. Their appointment has to be canceled. Everyone who was there their appointment gets cut short because they have to clean the pool, whatever the case may be. So the first week she did it, I didn't think much of it because it had happened to us from other kids, right? So I didn't think much of it. Then she does it again the week later. So I'm like, all right, now I'm starting to feel weird. Why the fuck is she doing this? I'm still trying to potty train on poop. We had pee down. Poop was still an issue. Why is she doing this? Whatever, right? I went to the bathroom. My eyes welled up, but I got her ready and we left. I didn't really want to put anything to it. I'm like, don't put any energy to this. That was how I handled it back in the day. Don't put any energy to this. It'll repeat. Don't put any energy. We go back the next week. She did it again. And this time I could tell everybody was mad and I was mortified. And I take her out and I go in the bathroom and I lock myself in the bathroom and I lock the door and I started hysterical bawling. Like, oh my God, they're going to fucking kick us out of this place. She's not going to learn how to swim. I'm never going to figure out how to potty train her. This is awful. I can't believe she's doing this. Why is she doing this? Terrible, right? So I listen. As I'm crying, I'm listening to everyone leave. And then finally I come out and I apologize to the staff. I said, I'm really sorry this is happening. I'm even getting teared up thinking about it. Really sorry this is happening. I'm going to figure this out. And that's all I had. I was in fight or flight at that moment, freaked out. She's done this 3 times in a row. She's compromising the swimming of probably like 60 kids, the 30 that were in the pool and the 30 that were coming, right? Because they have to keep the pool empty and filtered for a couple hours so nobody can have their swim lessons. And I'm thinking about all of this. And I go home and I think and I'm crying and I feel awful and I'm ready to quit. I'm like ready to quit safety swim, probably halfway ready to quit potty training, right? And I just remember saying to my husband, I kind of dumped my bucket to my husband and I took a minute and taking a drive by myself. And I said, Michelle, she's doing, like, why is she doing this? What's the function of this? And I had to calm myself down first, right? I'm having all the shitty thoughts. So we're never going to go to swim again. This is horrible. This is a nightmare. So I said, I have to calm down and figure out, why is she doing this? What is the function of her pooping in the pool? So for me, right, every time I knew that she was about to go, she had like a tell, right? She'd start to pass a little gas. As soon as I saw it, I'd take her, I'd run her, and put her on the potty. And it took me a while to really figure this. And back then, I didn't even have this. I just had to think this out in my head because I knew she was doing it for a reason, right? Obviously, she didn't want to do it on the potty. She was scared. It's a very different, for children on the spectrum, it's a very different sensory experience to poop than it is to pee. So I know she felt maybe a little bit about that. So then I thought about it and I said, it could be that she's trying to avoid, right, or escape doing it where she's supposed to. It also could be censoring the fact that she's more relaxed in the pool and she kind of like just lets herself, she's not holding it and she lets it go, right? So in the sense of that, I said, okay, now what do I do? Now that I know what it is, like, she obviously doesn't want to go on the toilet. She feels funny. Well, it's easier to do it for her in the pool or in the water or whatever. She's trying to escape the actual activity of having to do it on the actual toilet. So now it's like, great, well, how do I figure out the solve for this? So then I said the next week, I'm like, we're going back, because if I don't go back, the potty, this shit, whatever, has won, and I'm not going to allow that to happen. So I said, we're going to go back. And I told the teacher, I'm going in the pool with you, because the teacher doesn't know her. She only sees her a half hour every week. She doesn't know her like I know her. So I'm going to go in the pool with you. And as soon as I see any inclination that it looks like she's about to take a shit, I'm going to bring her out. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't actually end up going in the water, but I stood on the edge and I just watched. Because, right, normally when you're watching the swim lessons behind like a double plated glass and they can't see you. And I normally would never do this because she could get kind of clingy with me. But I was like, no, I'm going to stand in there. She's going to do her lesson and I'm going to watch her. And as soon as I see a moment where I think she's going to go take a poop, I'm going to bring her in. That's I did it 3 times. She knew that shit was over. She loved the water. She loved that time. And as soon as I saw it, I'd take her, I'd bring her out of the pool, I'd run her to the bathroom, take her bathing stuff, say, come on, you gotta go poop. I got a surprise for you. Gotta go poop. She learned very fast. She never pooped in the pool again. And eventually she potty trained. She probably potty trained within a day or 2 after that happened. So my point is if I stayed in the mental mud of 3 weeks in a row, she shits in the pool, and I'm crying in the bathroom, and I'm thinking my life is over and hers, she probably wouldn't be swimming today, and she wouldn't be on a swim team today. She's on a USA Olympic sanctioned swim team, right? She wouldn't be on a swim team today. It would have probably taken me a lot longer to potty train her. I had to get comfortable. I had to be not comfortable. I would say I had to just accept that we were in a situation where she shits in pools and I need to fix it. I had to understand why she's doing it, and give her whatever support she needs to do it correctly, like to do it where it's supposed to belong, and help avoid her from being able to do it in the pool to begin with. So I hope this example was helpful. If anyone's dealing with any problem behaviors, this is my jam. I do potty training, we do communication skills, and we help families resolve problem behaviors like this. The guide is amazing. It's called the Autism Mommy Survival Guide to Any Problem Behavior. I am giving it away for free. If you want the guide, comment guide in the chat. We will email you or we'll direct message you so that we can get your email address, and we're going to send you this guide. I just finished it on Friday. It's my gift to everybody who has a child on the spectrum. I feel like it's going to be so helpful to get you out of that fight or flight so you can really figure out the function of why they do this stuff so that we can stop it from happening in the future. And this is what I do. So if you're struggling with anything like this, whether it be potty training, you need to get this done. You have a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old. We have a 25-year-old in the program. We potty trained up to 31 years old. You're having issues with potty training. You're having issues with getting communication going. Oh, I know 9 times out of 10, they're doing these behaviors because they can't communicate. They're frustrated. They can't communicate their wants and needs. If you're having problems with these behaviors and you don't know, you need somebody just to kind of guide you through and give you a little hand-holding support on what to do. I'm going to have my assistant here put a link in the chat for you to book a free coaching call. So it's either going to be with myself or a mindset coach on the program, because we know that a lot of this stuff, a lot of the work that we need to do to help our babies, I always call it the invisible umbilical cord. If I'm feeling shit about it, if I'm feeling like we can't do it, we don't get those results. And we work really hard in my program to help parents like this. So if you are interested in getting the guide, just comment guide. But if you want help with this now, if you're struggling with doing this alone, potty training, communication, problem behaviors, book this free coaching call. That link is definitely in my bio on Instagram. We're going to put it in the comments of this live chat. I hope today was helpful. If you guys have any questions, let me know.